important do you think are grandparents when it comes to not only, you know, general day-to-day living, but encouraging your kids to succeed in life?
Do you know, I really do feel that my grandparents are so important, and not only mine. I think all grandparents, I think they are a fantastic extension of your family unit.
Oh, is that your granny?
That's my nanny. Yeah, that's my nan. Yeah, and I find that I cherish the relationship more and more as I get older, and I think it might be. It's really heartbreaking to say, but it's kind of like I'm becoming more and more aware that they're getting old, and so they're not going to have as much time left. And for me, I find that really scary, and I feel like, oh my gosh, you know, I've really taken them for granted. And so when it comes to my daughters, you know, I insist that we are very close with our grandparents. I mean, obviously, my nan and granddad are alive, so they have a fantastic relationship with them, and I encourage them to ask them questions, to pick up the phone, to write letters. My nan's not on Twitter like Nanny Mavis yet, but, you know, and it's just so important to cherish that relationship.
Well,
I think it's fantastic.
When I was younger, when I was little, I used to really envy all my friends because they'd all be saying, oh, I'm staying at my grandparents this weekend, or, you know, grandma's looking after me tonight. But all my grandparents, well, 2 of my grandparents were dead when I was born, and the other 2, one lived in Ireland, so I didn't really see him, my granddad. That was my mum's dad that I didn't really see. And then my dad's mum lived with us for a while, and I was only about 3 or 4, and I just remember her being a right cantankerous old bag in the house.
Your honesty is refreshing.
Well, you know, I'd love to say, oh, me and Granny were like that. I used to walk into this little box room. My mother gave up her room for my dad didn't, my mum did. And that got on my nerves even at 3. And I'd walk in and she'd just be there with her whiskey and her fag. She's about 112, I think. And she just always moaned, and I said, oh, and they'd go up and give Nana this, and I think, oh, really? But I didn't know her that long, God rest her soul.
I know. Well, do you know, what I'm really pleased about is that my kids have a really casual relationship with their grandparents. So much so, my mum and dad are actually looking after Amy today, which is great, and they're also babysitting my sister's daughter, so there's 2 little girls running around their garden today. And what I mean by casual is the fact that mum will pop round, just happen to be passing. Sometimes I'll come home from doing here, my dad's mowing the lawn. We didn't have enough to fill our bin, so I thought I'd mow your lawn, you know, that sort of thing.
I love that.
And whereas, because I grew up overseas, my relationship with my grandparents was polite. And it was lovely, and I loved them very much. But it wasn't that same sort of casualness that you get with seeing your grandparents all the time. And I'm so pleased that my kids have that with theirs, because obviously I live around the corner from my mum and dad.
It's very important for them to be comfortable and to feel relaxed. Sorry, I'm just talking over you.
That's all right, lovely.
But, yeah, I do.
I remember my Grandad Tom. What I loved about him is that he really made me believe that he popped his eyeball out and put it in his mouth to wash it. He'd take it out every time, like, oh, and we'd all be like, they'd pop it in his mouth and push it all around, like, and you'd be watching it, and then I believed that till I was about 16. And so he was a very traditional granddad. He'd turn up with licorice all sorts in a paper bag and coffee candy twists and all of that. Whereas my children have very different grandparents. My mum and dad are both, like, how can I describe? They're really outrageous grandparents, you know, and my dad's in his 80s, my mum's 80 next year, and they're still travelling around the world, and they're a little foul-mouthed sometimes, and maybe sometimes have a little bit too much wine, but they're hilariously funny. And the same with their paternal, like Mark's mum, who is just one of the most outrageous people you'll ever meet, hilariously funny as well, and of course Nanny Thelma, who I talk about all the time. Have we got a picture of Nanny Thelma? Look, look at that, isn't she? And that's Mark. Now that face she's doing there, she has, shall I do one of those Twitter faces? That was her trying to do a pout. So for them, my children very much just sit and listen to their grandparents, and what my children get from them is that they are vital, funny, smart, outrageous, relevant people in their 80s and 90s.
Exactly.
So when they see older people, they love older people. They don't see them as
my dad used to say the best thing about being a grandparent finally was he could spoil his grandkids where he couldn't spoil his own kids. And he really went for it.
Do you ever get that feeling, like, you know, like my mum, she totally spoils my kids, and I'm just like, you didn't do that with me.
I have that same conversation with my dad. You never used to do that with us.